Good afternoon, Madfest. Hope you're having an amazing time at this absolutely fantastic event. I'm absolutely gutted to be self-isolating and unfortunately not there in person to see all of your lovely faces this afternoon. I'm Jeremy Stinton and I head up the UK for a company called 23. So very quickly, by way of introduction, who are 23? Now 23 are a high-performance video marketing and webinars platform used by all sorts of brands you would have heard of, including Audi and Spotify. So I'm here this afternoon to talk about how you can improve what you're doing with webinars right now, with some secrets from our team. So if we start by looking at webinar behavior, this has shifted monumentally throughout 2020 and 2021. We all know that COVID has driven a big shift in behavior in this area. One of the secrets of what we do see is that organizations aren't getting enough from their recorded versions or their on-demand versions of their webinar. Now this is a problem because organizations that do leverage that are actually getting more like 50% more audience. Now 50% of their audience are watching on demand. And of course it stands to reason. We're all used to watching video content on Netflix, on iPlayer. We want to consume content when we want to consume it. And yeah, for sure, people won't engage typically for as long on the on-demand version as they will in real person or on live. Of course, in live events, people have that fear of missing out, which they don't quite get on demand. But in terms of audience reach, and as marketeers, that's super important to us, then recorded is a super important part of the workflow. Now, what a lot of people will do is just pop that webinar on YouTube. Great, it's on YouTube, fantastic. Is that the right place? Well, if you look at the start of June and what happened with YouTube, they completely changed their policies. So actually now anybody putting video content on YouTube has the potential for ads to appear over their content. And we're already starting to see that creep in. So whoever you are, whatever your brand is, YouTube can now put adverts over the top of your content. And I suspect as a brand, that's probably not pretty consistent with what you want to achieve. And if we delve a little bit deeper into that YouTube experience, of course, if we end up watching video content on YouTube, we've always got that menu down the right-hand side, those next plays, those recommended videos. It's no secret that I'm a Queen fan, and of course, any content I hit on YouTube, it's going to have Queen down the right-hand side there, it's going to have racing cars, it's going to have guitars, all the things that I'm into, as well as potentially competitor content to what your brand is. So we also need to think about this from an SEO perspective. If you're placing video content into YouTube, then of course YouTube is likely to appear in the search results for Google. I mean, Google owns YouTube after all. So do you really want to be optimizing your search for driving traffic off to YouTube, where they might engage in your video or they might engage in something else? Or indeed, do you want to be driving that traffic towards your website? I know absolutely which I would prefer. So if we look at somebody who's absolutely smashing this right now, this is Folian. Now they're engaging with all of their webinars, all of their on-demand content on their website. Now, of course, what they're able to do, therefore, is not only improve the SEO performance of their web page, and of course, Google likes to see people engaging on the site. So if you've got a 40-minute webinar that's playing out on your site, think of the dwell time on your website as a result of that. Google absolutely loves that. And of course, what Folian have seen is that the engagement time on their site has increased by 185% as a result of working in this particular way. But not only that, of course, they're also now able to control the flow within their website, the journey that people go on. So once somebody hits one webinar, they're then able to watch other webinar content. They're then able to keep moving through a content stream with Folian's site. Or indeed, if they're a bit further down the funnel, they can engage in the nav that's at the top of the screen there. Super, super powerful from a brand perspective. And absolutely, as a result, they end up getting phenomenal results with what they're trying to achieve. Another brand absolutely smashing this with video and webinars is Universal Robots. They actually increased their lead generation by 50% by working in the way that I'm about to describe. Now, what they've done very cleverly is that they've started to qualify people on social media already at that stage. And what I mean by that is that they'll create video content, so maybe a clip from a previous webinar, or indeed they'll record a special clip about the upcoming webinar, so that when people click on the link through to the webinar registration page, already people know, or at least have a really clear idea of what they're actually about to see in the webinar. What are they actually going to ultimately engage in? Phenomenally powerful. And of course, as a result, what they see is really high conversion rates of those that hit the landing page versus those that ultimately go on and either engage in the live or on demand piece of content. Phenomenally, phenomenally powerful. Now let me share with you this little secret tip. Super powerful, but super easy to implement. Now, as we know as humans, we're naturally drawn to things that move. So anything looks like movement, our brain thinks, alert, we need to be aware of this. So actually we can use this in our newsletters. I mean, we all send out lots of email marketing newsletters, all of that sort of thing regularly. But in terms of boosting our click-through rate from those, super powerful trick. Comparing the example on the left with the example on the right. Of course, that example on the right-hand side, where there is an animated GIF within the newsletter, has been shown to actually increase the click-through rate by something like 62%, and certainly has in this example here. Phenomenally powerful. So just by using an animated GIF to show there's a video within that newsletter, you've got a massive boost in click-through rate versus a static image. So what are my 3 top secret takeaways from what we've been talking about here? So the first is to look to maximize the value from those valuable webinars that you've been producing and making sure that you're extracting the most from the on-demand version of those webinars too. Think very carefully before placing those recorded webinars onto YouTube and consider all of the pitfalls that we've been talking about. And last but not least, using animated GIFs in your newsletters to drive action and that really easy, quick win. Thanks ever so much for listening. I'm Jeremy Stinton, Head of UK at 23. By all means, come and chat to the rest of my team on Table 49. I know they'd love to talk to you. Thanks again for listening. Goodbye.